Hi everyone, I'm Christophe Paget and welcome to this episode of All About Space dedicated to European rockets. One of the industries which rocketed in terms of expansion, investment and interests has definitely been the rocket industry. Many rocket startup companies were born in the last 2 decades, and it is sometimes overwhelming to follow what's going on. Now, in this episode, I will focus on the European launchers, and if it is attracting interest, I may expand that to the rest of the world. I will therefore attempt to describe which are these European companies and what are they doing. And to help you make sense of it all, I will show you how they compare to each other and to external competitors, hoping that episode answers all the questions you had. Of course, this episode was made in late 2024, and by that time you are watching this, things may have evolved. So, this is how fast this industry is changing. This topic has thankfully grown so big in the last 10 years that it deserved 2 episodes on it. So, let us start with part 1. You will find the second part linked in the description or on the top right corner of your screen. This episode will concentrate on the following topics: European rockets, space sports, and closing remarks. We currently have 15 European-made rocket flying or in development. There are big names such as Ariane Group behind the Ariane 6 and the Italian company Avio for its Vega or vega-c. Actually, the Vega rocket has just been retired as you watch this video, and I will not mention it during this episode. We also have a big player, the French, German, and Japanese governmental institutes, CNES, DLR, and JAXA, currently developing the Callisto rocket to enable first stage reusability and may pass on the technology to Ariane Group or other ones complete, as these institutes are not in the business of providing rockets. Ariane Group also is not staying idle with just its heavy launch vehicle Ariane 6 and is in fact investing in a medium launcher via its subsidiary Maya Space with its Maya rocket. The new and less known rocket manufacturers are located all across the European continent, starting with Germany with High Impulse and its SL1, ISA Aerospace and its Spectrum, as well as Rocket Factory Augsburg and its RFA1. Then in the UK we have Orbex with his rocket called Prime and Skyrora with his Skyrora XL rocket. In France we have Latitude with his Zephyr, Hyperspace with his, wait for it, Baguette 1, and Sirius and his Sirius 1. In Spain, PLD Space has successfully launched its demonstrator Mura 1 and is now moving at full speed on his Mura 5. And finally, in Italy, Sidereus was created in 2022 and has the ambition to have a simple and single-stage rocket called EOS for light payloads. I missed one which recently has reached 100-meter high, the Colibri from Gruyère space program in Switzerland. Although they were the first rocket to demonstrate reusability in Europe, they are a company made up of students and might never reach orbit or even the Kármán line. So I hope to be proven wrong, but until then I will focus on European companies which have received substantial funding to pursue their goals and reach orbit. So there are quite a lot of them, and I believe you might have known some of them, but I guess not all of them. So let us dig more into it. To get a feel of the various rockets, let us see what is their rocket height. Now you could see they vary between 4.2 and 63 meter in height. Of course, this does not mean much, but it tells you about the monumental tasks these companies have to undergo up to the maiden flight. Another indicator of the rocket capability, and in fact the most important one at the end of the day, is the payload mass to customer orbit. As not all launchers are going to geostationary or lunar orbits, I will focus on low Earth orbit to offer the best comparison between all rockets. The more capable rockets are of course those with solid fuel side boosters on the Ariane 6 and solid fuel stages 1, 2 and 3 of vega-c, which are incredibly performant. Just to avoid skewing the launchers with lower payload mass, I removed both Ariane 6 with 2 and 4 side boosters, and here we can clearly see that Avio vega-c is ahead of the game, closely followed by Mura 5, RFA 1, Spectrum, and Maya with payload mass capability above 1 metric ton. Then we have the SL1, the best of the rest, with 600 kilograms payload, followed by the 180 to 320 kilogram payload range with Baguette 1, Zephyr, Prime, Skyrover XL. The EOS rocket, with its very low payload of 13 kilograms, is designed for small and cheap experiments in microgravity and therefore is not intended to compete with the bigger, more capable rockets. All rocket companies have different ambitions and strategies regarding which spaceport they will launch from. There are those who prefer equatorial launches, such as Kourou Spaceport, to benefit from faster Earth's rotational speed and therefore reduces the amount of fuel required, and therefore increases the payload weight to orbit. It is also ideally suited to geostationary satellite launch as it does not require changing the orbital plane, being already at 0-degree inclination. All but Orbex, Sirius, Siderius, and Skyrover are launching or plan to launch from Kourou, the European spaceport located in French Guiana. Indeed, vega-c and Ariane rockets are all launching already from Kourou, but it is still far from Europe, where all these rockets and perhaps satellite customers are. This is where Scotland and Norway come into play. Paradoxically, neither of them are in the EU, but that is just a minor detail. Indeed, the UK has heavily invested to get 2 vertical launch sites ready for serving Europe's appetite to launch rockets to space. Saxonwoord in the Scottish Shetland Islands are home of RFA, Skyrover, High Impulse, and Latitude, and very recently Orbex. RFA launchpad is already available there, albeit having recently suffered an explosion. The other UK spaceport in the island, Sutherland Spaceport, is being built exclusively for Orbex, with a major environmental advantage. It is designed to be carbon neutral in construction and operation. However, in recent development, Orbex decided to pause its operations in Sutherland. The other one is in northern Norway, Andoya, an old-sounding rocket spaceport which recently signed a long-term exclusivity contract with ESA Aerospace for their pad number 1. High Impulse intend to launch from there too. And of course, the main advantage of these northern European spaceports is for polar or sun-synchronous orbits, meaning orbits where satellites are constantly in daylight, ideal for observation satellites or satellites which depend exclusively on sunlight for power, which is the case in 85% of satellites today. Scotland has also high interest in opening another spaceport, but only for sounding rockets, called Spaceport 1 from the Hebrides. Construction work started late 2024. Very recently, too, the Portuguese island in Azores is also attracting manufacturers such as Orbex and ESA with its Space Rider. Esringer in Sweden has been home of sounding rockets, but does not yet plan to extend it to orbital rockets. Incidentally, it is where the Themis and Callisto reusable rocket demonstrators will be first tested. Siderius intends to launch from the Amalfi coast of Italy, and this project is in its infancy. Finally, the first rocket of Sirius is intended to be launched from Arnhem in Australia. Although the information provided in this episode was taken in the open domain from the provider's website or news outlets, this type of information gets very quickly outdated. I also welcome any rocket providers to contact me to provide more information or offer some corrections, which I will publish in an up-issued video. I trust that you have learned something new today. We live in an era where private rocketry is booming, and therefore we can always do with a recap of who does what in the European rocket business. After all, we have, as of 2024, 13 rocket companies to start with, and many more to come, I hope too. Do share this video to your colleagues and friends, and do not hesitate to leave me some comments. I'm trying to answer as many as I can. If you liked it and would like me to produce similar videos from other countries such as China, India, Russia, or America, do let me know by liking the video. Thank you for supporting me every week. Keep your space interest up and see you in the next video.